Fire has a deadly impact on the very young and the very old, more so than any other age group. Tonight, Chapter 8, Reaction Based on Preparation, looks at the steps taken to educate the young in proper fire safety behavior. I'm Captain Ed Flynn. My guests are Dr. Jesse Bradley, Assistant Superintendent of Schools, and Lieutenant Donald Wilson, Director of Public Fire Education. Good evening, Dr. Bradley.
Good evening.
Lieutenant Wilson.
Good evening.
Lieutenant, what is meant by reaction based on preparation as it applies to the fire problem impacting on the very young?
We in the fire service would like to think of a reaction based on preparation as instruction given to the very young people so that their reaction to that instruction would be based on good preparation, a preparation that would save their lives in the event of a stressful situation.
Dr. Bradley, as an Assistant Superintendent of Schools in charge of the curriculum and instruction, how has the Department of Education interacted with the fire department in the public fire safety education program?
We have been very fortunate to have a wonderful experience with the fire department, and Lieutenant Wilson and yourself have been very instrumental in instituting fire safety programs in all of our schools. We are very pleased with the 13 schools, particularly that had intensive training and service for fire safety education, and of course it carries over into our total curriculum now, and we're very pleased with that.
Lieutenant, what age group does your program go into? What age do you start educating the children?
Fire safety education starts at the very, very young, preschool, Head Start programs, kindergartens, right up to encompass the whole age group right through high school and into college.
So in other words, your goal is to educate the very young right up through their college years, and perhaps you're looking at educating a generation of children.
I couldn't have said it better, absolutely.
Dr. Bradley, what form of instruction does this fire safety program encompass, and how does the teacher in the school use it in their day-to-day work?
Well, because of your expertise, we have been able to train teachers for teaching fire safety education in the classrooms. We've had several workshops and seminars where principals and school directors have participated, and the teachers are using it in many subject disciplines and areas of the classroom, i.e. in art, when they're making posters. Of course, that's an annual experience for our fire safety contest for posters. Then we have the essay awards contest when children are writing about fire safety education. And of course we have history, we have health, where children are learning what it means to be burned, the causes, the effects, the treatment. And then as we get into the sciences, there is always that triad of a fire triad, as it were, I suppose, yes, with heat and fuel and oxygen. So they're learning quite a bit, and teachers are able to teach in all subject disciplines and subject areas the year round relative to fire safety education.
Captain Flynn, the infusion that has been made by the classroom teacher is marvelous. It's just the way they assimilate the subject matter into their own curriculum has been astounding. You take a physical education teacher and ask how does that teacher infuse that subject matter into the curriculum, and he expresses or she expresses the fact that to stop, drop, and roll, it's assimilated in the physical aspect. It's just amazing how they do that.
It's wonderful because the supervisor of physical education is extremely excited and supportive of all of fire safety education, so that they're getting a great deal of exercise and muscle and climbing and movement and the kinds of activities that would take place. If there were an actual fire, they would know what to do, and their bodies hopefully would be conditioned to move in that direction of safety. Yeah. So I think that's good too.
Let's talk about the art poster contest. I understand that the last 30 years, the Office of the Fire Marshal and the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce have been instrumental in co-sponsoring this event, which takes place in the schools, and not only the public schools but the parochial schools. And recently we had an awards ceremony. It was very impressive, and some of the artwork was on display there, and it really shows the talent that these children possess, and not only in art but how they depict fire safety. Lieutenant Wilson, what has the fire department done to assist the teachers in teaching the curriculum in the schools?
We have gone into the classroom on a request from the individual classroom teacher to fortify any programs of fire safety education that she or he has put forth in the form of films or actual live demonstrations. We have had the participation of the firefighting staff to come in and dress in their turnout gear and boots and helmets and Scott air packs to show the children firsthand what fire safety equipment is all about and why it's necessary to wear it and what it does, what it affords the firefighter in the application of rescue when fire impacts on them, what we can do, how we can get in and make the effect in the rescue quickly or whatever.
So it's evident that just the presence of a dress uniform firefighter is a key factor in getting this message to the children.
Absolutely.
Dr. Bradley, in 1958, there was a very tragic fire in the city of Chicago at Our Lady of Angels grade school, and there were 95 children and some teachers died in that fire. How can we prevent that from happening in New Haven?
We can prevent that from happening in New Haven by continuing our fire safety education. One of the reasons I think we've had such a good program in New Haven is because of the cooperation in the fire department and the Department of Education. And of course, the Connecticut Fire Code indicates, was it 70.3, I think, whereby we have very, very strict and rigid regulations for fire safety drills in all of the schools. And once these fire drills are held in the schools, that is a method and a way of training students how they behave in school, how to leave a building in case there is an emergency. But it goes a step further in telling just what they should do and how they should do. So because of the training that we have in our school staff, and I think we have a very fine staff that is very much aware of fire safety education, I think that will be prevented in New Haven because the fire department staff comes in and regularly, periodically checks on a monthly basis our school buildings, and we have our fire drills every month. We're mandated to have 8, but we do have 9 because school is in session in 9 months. And once principals and teachers continue to check on a daily basis, I feel that this cannot happen in New Haven.
Lieutenant Wilson, when talking to children about the dangers of playing with matches, what are some of the things you would emphasize to them, just about the matches in general?
Matches, we try to tell the young children that matches are a tool. Fire is a tool if used correctly. We're not advocating that young children use matches, but fire in itself is a tool if used correctly by the proper people. We would say to them, don't play with matches because of these facts. You can get burned very easily. If you're not trained in the use of any tool, you should not use it. And a match is a tool. That's basically what we try to get over.
So in most cases, a youngster might, because of curiosity, try to find out, imitating the parents, for instance, if they're lighting cigarettes. You may see a cigarette lighter lying around that a parent has carelessly left on the table, and the child gets his hands on it. These are some of the things that parents should be aware of.
Absolutely. What the message of fire safety education is trying to impart is this, that if you are careless in the use of these things, for every action, there is a reaction, and we show them the reaction in the form of films of children being badly burned because of using something that they don't have any idea as to how to use, whether it is a open flame device or a fireplace or whatever the case may be. We try to educate them not to use things that they know nothing about.
Doctor, in the fire education program, we hear a lot about the term stop, drop, and roll. It seems to be something that has been reinforced over and over again, and it really has some deep meaning. If we were to go into the schools and ask someone what they would do if their clothes caught on fire, what would the children say?
Stop, drop, and roll.
At this point, we're going to look at a film, and we're going to find out what stop, drop, and roll is all about.
And our clothes caught fire. That would be very scary. What would we do then, Snuffy?
Stop, drop, and roll. Turn around to the hotspot spotter and I'll show you.
Hey, what's a dragon got to do with this?
As you can see, kids, dragons are the one thing that have learned to live with fire.
Love that fire. Mm-mm.
But even with with dragons, sometimes the fire gets out of control.
Uh-oh, that's too much fire.
Now, if the dragon were to get scared and try to run away, look what happens.
The flames get higher.
But if the dragon stops, look.
The flames get lower.
Yeah, the flames get lower. But I'm still on fire. What do I do now?
Drop to the ground.
Positively.
Drop to the ground, huh? What?
And then,
Roll around on the ground.
You mean like this? Oh, hey. Oh, much better, huh?
Wow, that's really cool. Stop, drop, and roll. Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Wow, if you run with your clothes on fire, the flames will just burn higher and higher. There's just no way you can turn and run once a fire that's on you has begun. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop running. Stop, drop, and roll.
One thing everybody ought to know. If you catch fire, you gotta drop down low. If you keep standing up this tree, the fire will go up in your face. You gotta drop. You gotta drop. You gotta drop. You gotta drop. You gotta drop it, baby. Stop, drop, and roll. There's one thing certain that we found. Fire goes up and never down. Fire like tearing up the ground. Don't squash it out. Just roll around. You gotta roll. You gotta roll. You gotta roll. You gotta roll.
you gotta start rolling. Stop, drop, and roll.
You gotta stop and drop and roll. You gotta keep your self-control. You gotta learn to hit the ground and roll yourself around and round. You gotta think. You gotta stop. You gotta sing. You gotta drop.
You gotta start rolling. Stop, drop, and roll.
Oh, yeah.
We're back with Dr. Jesse Bradley, Assistant Superintendent of Schools, and Lieutenant Donna Wilson, Public Fire Education Director of the Fire Department. And the subject today is fire safety for the very young. Lieutenant Wilson, how, if any way, has the private sector been helpful to you in your public fire education programs?
We've been very fortunate, Ed, to have businesses such as Burger King to interact with us in our fire safety education program. They have interacted in many, many ways. They have, we recently had a field day of which they sponsored and provided lunch for all some 270 odd children from various schools. They provided the lunch in the form of sandwiches and drink, and they also put on loan the Burger King Hotspot House and a tape depicting fire safety education information.
So you've been utilizing some of the materials right from the Burger King Corporation on fire education, and it's been most helpful.
It certainly has.
That short clip we just viewed on the Stop, Drop, and Roll was courtesy of Burger King.
Yes, it was.
Burger King also co-sponsored a brochure this past winter, and in this brochure there were many fire safety tips. The brochure went to the public schools. Dr. Bradley, would you care to comment on this?
I'd be pleased to. I happen to have had the opportunity to attend the field day activities with the support of Burger King, and I was very, very impressed. And now with a follow-up of the brochure that has gone home with all of the children, we hope that the children and teachers have used it as a reminder. And also the message has gone home now as a result of having that brochure that has been designed so well in support of Burger King and fire safety education in New Haven. It's an excellent piece of work.
Lieutenant Wilson, has any insurance companies been involved with your program?
That's I'm glad you asked that. Thompson & Peck has been instrumental in supporting the campaign of the art program on the poster and essay contest. They have made available to us many, many things that perpetuated this program, and we're very thankful to them.
We'll be right back right after the short message.
YWCA, it takes all kinds to make a world. YWCA, it takes all kinds to make a world. YWCA, it takes all kinds. It takes you.
We're back with Dr. Bradley and Lieutenant Wilson. Lieutenant, how do you get the attention of the very young and that you know that they have received your fire safety message?
Very good question, Ed. Everyone has their own methods, and I'm sure as Dr. Bradley, as an educator, has hers, but the attention span of the very young is limited, and one must not tax that. You have to, it's a secret that I'm about to divulge to you now, that when I go in, I say to them that we love them, and we care about them, and we don't want anything to happen to them. And once you say that to young children, you have their attention. And now the message that comes after that must be important and must be simplistic in nature so that they can gravitate to it. I then say, do you like cartoons? Do you know any children that don't like cartoons? And their answer to that is yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to show you a cartoon that may save your life. This is my inroad to the very young, and it works for me, and the message that is disseminated after that depicts all the behaviors that we want exercised by the young children. And this is one of my secrets, and I don't want you to ask me any more of my secrets because too many people will have expertise that I alone want to hold.
How about Bambi and Smokey the Bear? Do they want to know about those two animals out there in the woods?
Well, I think you've already got some of the expertise that I want. You're absolutely correct. When you start talking about cartoon characters, and specifically those cartoon characters, most children know them and gravitate to anything that they say, and we use them quite readily in the programs.
How about those little red fire helmets that you give out?
Oh, those are just for the good kids, and we have so many good children. Thank goodness for companies like Thompson & Peck, again, for making those available to us as a resource. We give those out to daycare centers and kindergartens and other grade levels in the school system as a reward for listening and participating. You asked, how do I know that the message is being received? Well, before we leave any classroom, and myself, the classroom teacher, and all the children in those classrooms participate in all those behaviors. Crawl low and smoke, stop, drop, and roll, and find an Edith exit drill in the home. We participate in those behaviors, and I document the fact that if there are 31 children and one teacher in the classroom, there are 32 people that have done it, because they do it and I do it along with them.
Dr. Bradley, the most important message we teach in the school with the fire safety curriculum is to prevent fires. Now, we know in the real life we can't prevent all the fires. There are some fires that happen accidentally. How do we prepare the children to get out of those fires in the school? What measures does the teacher take with the child?
All right, because prevention is so very, very important, we spend a great deal of time on focusing on prevention. The teacher is able to help children recognize exits from their classroom, exits from the building. Children must be in a position to recognize it. When the fire signal goes off in the school building, they drop everything, get in line, and leave the building immediately and going to a designated spot. I I feel also important for prevention is children have to know alternative exits for leaving their buildings. But more importantly, fires may not happen during the school day in a school building. It could happen at home, on a weekend, or at night. So that prevention, again, is very important for children. And parents and children should get together and draw diagrams of their home, draw a diagram of how they're going to leave their own home facility if there is fire or smoke to be inhaled in some way, so that they will feel comfortable and know where to meet. A meeting spot should be designated, and that's important too. So the prevention is taught in school, about school, and prevention can be taught about home also.
So actually, the children bring home that message to the parents, to the other family members, and it's reinforced, and they have a teamwork effort in order to exit drill in the home safely.
Absolutely, and I hope that parents will recognize the importance of doing that, so that when one of the children come home and say, "Mommy, where do we go if there's a fire?" that they will take that very seriously. Because if there is that linkage between the home and between the school, then children will recognize the importance, and then parents' lives may be saved as a result of children's education in school.
One of the major causes of fires is carelessness, but unbeknown to a lot of people, the carelessness is not in the form of children, but in the form of adults.
Yeah, so that ignorance could cause the fires because of the carelessness.
Lieutenant Wilson, you have many firefighters that participate in fire safety education, and they say a lot of things to the children. Do the firefighters practice what they preach?
They certainly do, Ed. The fire service's role with regard to public fire education has grown, and they've recognized the need to disseminate messages on the station level as well as when they're out inspecting. And they have been doing this. They've been partaking, because the feedback that I get when I go into school sometime, young children preempt my program by saying, "Oh, the fire apparatus that was out inspecting came by and they told us this thing about stop, drop, and roll, or if you're trapped in a building, go to the window if you're on an upper level and wave something out so that they know you're there." So the station house firefighter is on his toes today, and he's recognizing the fire service's role with regard to these programs and is certainly participating.
When does the fire education program actually start in the school year?
We like to think that the program starts in the second week of October, the Fire Prevention Week, but is carried on all year long. It is an ongoing message that is disseminated by all phases and all the different departments of the fire service.
So actually, during Fire Prevention Week, we'll start a program where the apparatus visit all the schools, and then it's carried over into the curriculum under Dr. Bradley, where the program is carried out throughout the rest of the year.
Absolutely.
So we make Fire Prevention Week last all year long.
Yes, we do.
The fire department has come up with its own collector's items. Many years ago, the craze of the bubble gum and the baseball cards were there. Some of the tools of the trade that you have, especially with the little bit of older children, are some collector's cards on the fire department activities. Can you tell us about those cards and how you use them in your program?
I certainly can, and again, we have some very innovative people in the fire service today, and I have to say this, you were instrumental in getting those cards, and they have been a great help to me in perpetuating fire safety education. The young children, as a reward, receive a set of fire cards depicting explicit fire scenes, firefighters gasping for breath and receiving oxygen, or firefighters coming down an icy ladder, bringing a victim down with them. These have been a great help in perpetuating fire safety education. Along with the hats and helmets that we give out, this is an innovative approach to fire safety education, and again, I thank you for it.
Dr. Bradley, would you comment on the cards? How would the teacher use those cards that we're talking about?
Well, the cards could be used with quizzes, for instruction, for just game time, for teaching art, for teaching humanism, by teaching caring, and I think that's one of the things that has been so very important in the program. Children, young people are now recognizing how much more they appreciate the firefighters, because they recognize what their thrust is and what their responsibility is, whereas before, oh, there goes the fire engine, and it was not as important as it is now to them, because they recognize that the firemen are really saving lives, and that's important.
One of the subjects that comes up at the end of the school year in your various programs is the subject about fire hydrants. Lieutenant Wilson, do you want to talk to us about, tell us a little bit about the program you have surrounding a fire hydrant?
I certainly would like to take this opportunity to do so. The fire hydrant is a tool, is a vehicle by which we move water to extinguish fires. That's its basic function. In the hot days of the summertime, many people don't have the ability to get to the beaches, and they have been misusing the use of the fire hydrant. We in the fire department have reached a happy medium with those people, and we've tried to design a program to alleviate the real heat of the day by allowing them, under supervision, to use the fire hydrant with a sprinkler attached to it. We have had some good rapport from neighborhood leaders in this respect, and we are asking for the upcoming season that the good monitors that are out there viewing this program would again volunteer their time so that they may control the use of hydrant sprinklers, so that young children will not vandalize them, open them up without a sprinkler device on them, and force young children into the path of oncoming cars. The hydrant sprinkler, as we said before, is to be used for the extinguishment of fires. But the fire service recognizes the need to alleviate the heat situation in the inner city and are willing to allow hydrant use to be used by monitored personnel. Please, if you were to see someone misusing a hydrant, by all means call the fire department and let us know. And as an adult, we expect those people to go out and interact with the young children and say to them, don't abuse that hydrant.
Okay, thank you very much. We have run out of time, unfortunately. You have been watching Chapter 8, Reaction Based on Preparation. My guests have been Dr. Jesse Bradley, Assistant Superintendent of Schools, and Lieutenant Donald Wilson, Director of Public Fire Education. Be sure to tune in next week for Chapter 9, Never Too Old to Learn. Your host will be Lieutenant Donald Wilson, and his guest will be Janie Holmes, Executive Director of Tower 1, and Mr. Abe Flax, a member of the Mayor's Commission on Aging.
One out of every 3 adult Americans is single. Some are happy, some are sad, some are lonely. Hi, there's a brand new show on Channel U34, and it's called Single Minded. I'm Dick Ziemba, the host of this unique show, which will explore single life and give viewers a chance to meet the singles appearing on the show. Join me each Monday at 8 and Wednesday at 7:30 on Store or Cable U34.